Let's start. Hi, everyone. I'm Christian Dominique, co-founder of AWE Digital Wellness. I'm here today with Maria Tkachuk from RainLab. She's the CEO and co-founder. And we have a very interesting topic today, AI versus the brain. So Maria is a friend of mine. She has multiple business and she's the CEO of RainLab, which gives biofeedback and solutions for organizations and people, helps also people with disability. We'll talk a bit more about that. And the big question today is AI better than the brain? If so, how? And is it getting better? Is it going to surpass the brain? I hope that the spoiler is not, it will. No, we don't know. We're still going to debate this today and see some point of view of why the brain is better than AI or vice versa, and how technology is enabling or disabling us. Maria, welcome.
Hi, Christian. Thank you so much for inviting me and thank you for a nice introduction. And yes, I'm happy to be here and to have this wonderful opportunity to share with our distinguished audience of our experience working with AI and neuroscience. At RainLab, we are not a one product company. We are a service company which renders services for research and software development using neuroscience and AI. And yes, within our work, we really have a lot of insights on AI and brains together, or brains enhanced by AI, or AI enhanced by brain, including through a wonderful technology of neurosfeedback that you're familiar with. And yes, for some of our audience, they are very professional in this and they know what we're talking about.
And for the rest of the audience, Maria, can you tell people what neurofeedback is? Actually, we met a couple of years ago at a neurofeedback training and conference. So, can you share? Do you have your device with you, and can you explain what neurofeedback is for people who don't know?
Yes, so there is a different types of neurofeedback. The professional EEG, which we were all familiar with in clinics, where they put you a cap with a lot of electrodes. And there is a consumer grade, thanks to some incredible technology builders, which looks like this. So this is my favorite one, Muse S. It's with me since 2018, already 7 years, and it's still working well. So I really recommend this one. And so what it has here is a neurofeedback and biofeedback. Neuro EEG electrodes here, and also it measures your blood flow. New versions have FNIRS, which measures blood oxygenation, and it really gives us a lot of insights on about our mental and health performance. And yes, Chris, so we met with you on our training on peak performance, where we were training people with a neurofeedback to achieve their best of themselves. And it's so wonderful that right now you started a company uh, which has a interesting and intriguing acronym, AWE, or for some reason I want to say in French, AWE.
Yeah, so or
For
which some people found difficult to pronounce, is also the acronym from awareness, wellness, and enjoyment. So
I
hopefully
really
we'll
wanted
all
to
enjoy ourselves
make
today.
sure.
Thanks everyone also joining live. Appreciate you taking the time to join us in this conversation. You can ask questions during or after. We'll have a small period of question as well. And Maria, I remember when we did that neurofeedback, you had your machine and training some AIs, and you were saying that my brain waves were trained or focused. What does that mean in terms of neurofeedbacks and EEG?
Yes, so these devices they help us to assess our state of the brain, and we can really use them in two different perspectives. First of all, we can imagine these devices like a keyboard or a mouse. They can help us to manipulate the technology, even a wheelchair, right? But we can have also an idea of these devices like a thermometer, like a device that helps you to measure your temperature every day. And so with this measurement, we can see people who perform better or who perform worse than average. And this is due, each brain is unique. And this is due our lifestyles and our environments. So from your measurements, we definitely saw that your brain was peace, and well focused.
So those years of meditation and reading, attention focus actually showed in the data, right? So it's not just um, thinking that you're focused. You actually measure that, and then you can use it with neurofeedback to train yourself to be more and more focused. That's the idea, right?
Yes, you can use it for this purpose, but imagine it's we really need to think about as a holistic approach. You cannot just do the meditation or training on focus and then go for 15 minutes per day and then go and scroll your phone in the evening for 2 hours on TikTok, because the habit of scrolling really destroys our focus abilities, and it will be like eating a healthy food during doing your meditation for 15 minutes and then going to your bad habits and hoping to achieve results. uh, it's impossible, unfortunately. So it's definitely not a magic pill. How can you comment on this?
Well, I always say that there is no free lunch or there's no easy hacks. Unfortunately, even with AI, which makes our life easier in terms of productivity in some ways, we still have to. And I think that's one of the beautiful thing about the human existence and endeavor is that we do need to have perseverance and passion and purpose. And those are the things that the human brain can have and that AI doesn't, right? So you've used chatbot and eventually we had this conversation before the call about how we can do better than chatbot. Can you tell us a little bit about why do you call your chatbot humanoids?
Uh, yes, our humanoids, our dear friends, our dear colleagues in what we do, they came as a natural development of our coaching practice with neurofeedback. Because we, as I told, the approach to training mental and health performance shall be holistic. You cannot just train your focus with the meditation for ADHD, for attention deficit disorder, for 15 minutes meditation per day of mental training, and then go to scrolling or disrupt your sleep routine, sleeping too less, and expect results from neurofeedback. The approach shall be holistic, and our humanoids AI coaches, which have names and character, help us into building people's healthy habits with sleep, with addictions, including tobacco, cannabis, and now we are working on opioids addiction as well, for fentanyl, and with nutrition. which is very important. A lot of our coaching clients, they had a problem for losing their focus after lunch.
Yeah.
And yes, you can train it with neurofeedback, but first of all, you need to understand what is a glucose spike. Because if during the lunch you eat a sugary donut, you're gonna be sleepy. That's no neurofeedback gonna help you. That's why we implement for our coaching clients individual coaching programs where we can write a program in individual purposes suitable for a lifestyle. And they are available 24/7. And why we
So,
call them humanoids? Yes,
so
because
you have biofeedback as well as neurofeedback. So you measure glucose and sleep patterns and other metrics.
that's a work in our programs. We do a few of our clients had a diabetes, and we understood that measuring daily glucose level, some people do it still with pen and paper. It takes a lot of time to track this, and right now we are working on machine learning for helping people manage their glucose level with the diabetes.
Yes, I was actually talking last week with some coaching clients of mine, a couple, and talking about also to not only look at your thoughts or emotions, but to remember to feel your body, and if you're sleepy or irritable or uh, angry, which some people say hangry, hungry and angry at the same time. It's good to also know your physical state because it affects, and that's a big difference between, again, AI and our brain. Our brain and biology is affected by all those things, right? By our emotions, by our roaming thoughts, not just by our cognition. Um, and that's sometimes distracting, and we can lose focus, especially if we lose our attention with some technology and devices. But it can also be a wonderful experience to have these changes of mood, of emotions, of bodily sensations, right? What do you think about some of the things that AI and the brain differ and are better or worse at?
Yes, we can have a really wonderful conversation about this because maybe I can make a little spoiler. And I know that the AWE team is working on incredible AI technology for helping people to manage their digital addiction patterns. And I think that this is our future of mental and health performance. Each of us has a lot of biofeedback and medical data and even behavioral data, which can be how you use your phone, right? And right now, we have some kind of medical data swamp, right? Because you have a lot of complex uh, databases, and for personal health performance, it's very difficult for any kind of professional doctor, therapist, and even for yourself to make sense of it holistically. And that's where AI can help us. And it's not a far future. It's not in far future when improvements of AI will be done by users personally through talking. Because generative AI right now helps us to do incredible things with so called vibe coding. It's when a user talks and the software can augment itself just by analyzing your speech demands from it. So, can you share what's incredible research is our doing with AI for brain?
So yeah, we are doing quite a bit of research. We have a very interesting and fun AI team that are working on a few projects. We just submitted Took us a month to write a very big grant proposal. We're submitting some abstract, looking at some papers, and we're looking at research to look at how digital addiction affects both anxiety and depression. We're potentially looking at how we look at speech and we can detect psychosis in written and voice speech as well. So, all mental wellness concern and health. We are looking at how to use existing psychology and psychotherapy information and also train and improve current AI model. Of course, with the AI ethics and ethical framework, privacy of data, and looking at enabling AI to have an interaction with coaches, clinician, therapists, so that the user is not only left with AI or only left with a coach or a therapist that he or she sees once a week or twice a week. So all the hours in between can be helped and supported by an AI that's also conscious that he can interact with humans and not only try to solve all the user's problem by itself.
Yes, so that's exactly what's our work reflects as well, but just in a different direction, because yours is more about improvement of addiction, and we are working holistically on health and mental performance. And I wanted to share as well with you about our approach and our research methodology. Uh, because currently there is a lot of data which a general customer, general user cannot make sense of. And we were thinking a long time how to structure our program on peak performance. And what we found that the best use case scenario is actually the training programs which are in applied in at NASA. And for our surprise, a big part of the research that NASA applies to training performance, mental and health performance of astronauts concerns the psychological issues in relationships, in team building, and in conflict resolution. And yes.
So astronauts are resilient or they're crazy? So what's the mental health issues? You know that I'm a space enthusiast. My father works for the Canadian Space Agency. I met many astronauts myself, and I couldn't help but notice that you have an astronaut on your board, or ex-astronaut Yaroslav Putzgvi, which is um,
Yes.
also in the training. Can you tell more about him and what his involvement is in RainLab?
Yes, Yarko, Dr. Pustovly, former Ukrainian astronaut, and now he's in Canada. He really helped us to make sense of this research methodologies that NASA is using to train astronauts. And for our surprise, it was very applicable to our everyday human lives for ordinary people in business, in health, and in life relationships as well. As you mentioned just a few minutes earlier, when you are angry at someone and you have a really conflicts on work, for example, or in personal life, that's heavily influence your performance, and it heavily influence your focus, and it heavily influence your health, because you cannot sleep well sometimes because of these issues, and you cannot concentrate on your work, and this anxiety sometimes takes over, and stress and influence your health. And for our discovery, it was very interesting that NASA, half of their, even more than half of their astronaut training program is devoted to conflict resolutions, to team building, to proper communication. Why? Because they are in highly stressed environment, far from their families, far from home. Their body goes through a very tough physical conditions, in a tough physical conditions, and the team is international. There is Chinese, Americans, Indians, and they need to be able to communicate well. Otherwise, they will not achieve their mission to lead the humanity to better future.
Well, very very interesting. That conflict resolution is very important for astronauts as well. It is in every couple. We also focus on couples and family, and we're not just individuals anymore. And another difference between AI and humans is that we are social animals, right? AI can communicate with humans or other AIs, but they don't have this need and drive to be social. And being able to have this conflict resolution, better communication, is very key also to well-being. And glad that you pointed that out, and that we can learn from astronauts. I also recommend. I read the Chris Hadfield's book, which talks a lot about preparedness, so how to be prepared, and also how to be resilient. Right. So there's a lot of things that we can learn from those brave astronauts, and glad that you get to collaborate with one of them.
Talking about books, I cannot hold myself to ask you a question. I know that you are an incredible author of multiple books, and I had an opportunity to read one of them, the book called Paradise on Earth, and it really impressed me with deep introspective insights on human relationships. And I have a question here: AI versus brain. I think most of us have heard those advertisements: write a book in a week with the generative AI and become a published author, famous one. What's your perspective on the book writing industry right now? Who is stronger, writer, author of the books who uses his own brain, or the generated AI author?
Well, I think you mentioned that one of your humanoids is named Chris, so maybe Chris will write the book next for me. I don't know. No, I think seriously that there is the risk that AI can be more creative than humans. I actually was at a seminar with Dr. Karim Jerby here in Montreal, computational and cognition neuroscientist researchers here, and his team found that at that time, 2023, I think it was ChatGPT 4 that outperformed the average human in some creativity measure. So it was not complete creativity. It was only how can you generate the most distinct 10 words that are different from each other. But it is a measure of creativity, and it seemed that it at that time was better than the average woman and man. Doesn't mean that he was better than the best creative people, but definitely there is some people that have less creativity, and maybe AI can be more creative in some aspects. I also write poetry. I've also asked AI to write some poetry. Still not as good as some of that I've read. I did a poetry contest during COVID and love poetry still. So I think that AI can generate art, can generate music, books, nonfiction and fiction. I've used some AI tools to help some of not my creative writing, but my book series to do some research. I've used AI to do some research today. but I would not write a book only with AI. It's more like a human and AI collaboration that could do better than the human alone or the AI alone. For instance, I was looking about. Um, I asked Gemini yesterday how much wattage did it take to create ChatGPT 4, and it gave me an incorrect answer. But because of my insight as a human, I was able to double check the information, figure out that the time and wattage was wrong. So for the audience, if you're curious to know how many watts or megawatts that it takes to create ChatGPT 4, it was 50 billion watts. So that's how much energy, and that's about the equivalent of thousands of house for over a year of consumption. And the human brain takes how much watts? Do you know, Maria?
No.
It's 20 watts. So not 50 billion, but 20 watts. So our brain is better in that way. It is definitely more efficient in terms of energy. And even if you use, eventually we might have quantum computing that we're doing research. So even the quantum computing um, computer, it's more efficient. So we are talking about 7 to 25 kilowatts for a supercomputer in quantum computing. And that's better than about 1 megawatt for the current supercomputer, but it's only 100 times full. So even a quantum computer is much more energy uh, ferocious than or very efficient human brain. The problem with our efficiency also, unfortunately, is that we um, are not as accurate. We forget. We are actually made to forget. So as we're having this discussion right now, we're forgetting as we're talking. We're also not perceiving everything because our brain is so efficient that we cannot get all the information. So forgetting is very important. We'll talk more about memory a bit later, but also we're almost at the halfway mark. If anyone in the audience have some specific question for Maria or I, please let us know. And Maria, continue on the topic of how do you feel that biofeedback integrates in terms of disability helping, and how has that been your experience with your clients so far?
Yeah, so as I said, we can really think of neurofeedback and biofeedback in two ways. In two ways. First, as a measurement, yes, so the only like a thermometer to measure a temperature. And second, like controlling controlling our devices, uh, including because you were talking about art. You can create art with a EEG. There are some really cool projects on creating music with neurofeedback, creating um, pictures, and even reading minds. That's not far away. That's not science fiction. Yes, the AI plus neurofeedback is able to recognize the words and what we are thinking. It's in recent development, but I think maybe around 5 years we will have this technology available. And so for people with disabilities, a lot of practical applications are for controlling devices. And I want to, perhaps you have heard of few days ago about Neuralink, who implants the neurofeedback devices and stimulation as well into the skull. So it's invasive. It goes with the wires inside of the brain, and they help a gentleman who is paralyzed to control the computer with his thoughts. That's a very big breakthrough. Along the way, we have one of our Montreal startups company called ABA, AAVAA acronym, who made actually saying with the device that are similar, they have similar like headbands or earbuds, and as an assistive technology for people who cannot move, but to control their devices with blinks and frowns. Yes, so this would help for communication and control of wheelchairs. And also, this technology helps us to assess the progress of therapy. For example, if it's electrical stimulation to rejuvenate the damaged nerves after a stroke, which is a quite common case, or after traumatic injury, which is very common case in Ukraine right now. This technology helps us to assess daily the progress of rehabilitation, and it gives enormously valuable insights for doctors. And along with AI, and something that is assistive, easily usable at home, it really gives a good progress for rehabilitation. Right now, we are helping a war hospital in Ukraine with integrating this technology into rehabilitation for mental health and for physical rehabilitation, people who had a traumatic injury after war, psychologically and physically.
Thanks, Maria. You're doing great and inspiring work. We're also trying to incorporate disability focus technology in our design of our platform in AI. So great that you're doing concrete work to help everyone and have access to the best quality of health and mental health. I was also in the neuroscience conference 2 weeks ago, and there was a really great breakthrough from this American professor that's doing research. It's only at I think they're at 12 patients about, so just a dozen patients, but they're implementing some electrodes to help. You know, in the past, we've had a lot of deep brain electrodes for schizophrenia to and epilepsy to avoid the seizures and psychosis. But now we're also recently just being able to help treatment resistant depression. So treatment resistant depression is a depression that is not working after many types of therapy and sometimes pharmaceutical treatments. And now we're able to go directly in the brain and stimulate specific region. And you know, there was a video of this person after the surgery and treatment, you know, smiling and saying he hasn't been happy like this in 10 years, right? So technology can be used for good, and some people can use those technical advances to be happier, healthier. And I was really happy to meet this researcher a couple weeks back.
Yes, and I know you're doing an incredible work also in coaching for digital addictions. And I wanted to ask you, can you share some simple technique for those who doesn't have a neurofeedback devices or who doesn't have a ability to hire a coach or a therapist? How can we really improve our habits daily on with the relationships with technology? What's your insights on it?
To bring it back to the theme of the theme, I am French speaking. The TH is always difficult for me. The theme of today, AI versus the brain. We are thinking about AI that has like all this capability. But one thing that's beautiful about the brain, why it's so efficient, is that we have habits, right? So habits are there to actually save energy and be able to do things quicker. And you know, the AI is better for cognition, can compute. What was the speed gigahertz versus 120 meter per second that our neurons are firing. So in terms of computational for cognition, the AI is much better, but in terms of being able to do things quickly, intuitively, uh, with habits that are, the neuroplasticity, so the brain changes with our actions. And then digital habits or problematic internet use or smartphone use is something that's on the rise. I think more than 70% of the population admit to having, used too
Need
much of
help.
the phone, right? You can share your experience as well after that. But the idea is that yes, there is coaching, yes, there is AIs and tools, but just to remember that habits are something that takes a while to build and to change. And my suggestion is not only to tell yourself stop the habit or stop scrolling endlessly, stop playing video games all night, but more what would you want to do instead of that? So one trick is really to ask yourself what would be better than doing this today and tomorrow, or what can I spend 1 hour more doing? It's something that I try to incorporate in my talks and coaching people, and repeating that until it becomes a habit, and finding joy and awe moments in your day to replace this sometimes mindless scrolling, sometimes purposeful scrolling. So if you're here on this live using technology, I hope it's with purpose and that you're not distracted and wasting your time. But often people say that in their day they spent half hour, 1 hour, that they don't know exactly why they were uh, doing what they were doing, but they were interacting with technology.
True. After our meeting when we agreed to make a podcast, that was around a month ago. And we had a talk about this. And I decided, simple way should be to make a app block. Okay. And I have to admit that I observed in myself really just the block of social media, YouTube, and the sites. Everyone knows their own bad habits for websites. And I have to admit that I observed in myself less anxiety, less stress during the day, and so if say in the terminology of neuroscience, my brain went from more beta to alpha states. Why is it? Do you have a clue why simply blocking the usage of our phone you can feel more relaxed during the day?
Yeah, so there's several studies that we've researches that are published that explain the link between smartphone use and increase in anxiety and depressive symptom. And that's not even the people that are classified as addicted. Our co-founder Mark was at an addiction medicine conference last week in Hamburg, and he was saying that even the definition of digital addiction is still not clear. There's only problematic gaming that's defined in the DSM-5, but we know that there's some addictive behavior. Actually, we don't need to call it addiction. We don't even want to call it addiction. We want to call it wellness and tech balance, right? But it can become addictive to some. And how do we know that it caused that? Is because you are missing something that is giving you constant interaction. So dopamine hits, right? So you have the state of calm and peace, and then you're always looking for an email, a notification, a scrolling something new, and your brain becomes anxious to get this new information or this new contact. So that's why when you reduce it, you'll see that you become calmer and less anxious slowly. But at first, it might be the opposite, because you might be anxious. There is something called nomophobia, which is the fear of having no more battery in your phone. Many people, like, battery is 5%, starting to have anxiety. So maybe you felt some of those relief with the blocking app that you use.
Yes, and for those who are watching our podcast and do not know what is a dopamine and why, really, I agree with you, it plays a crucial role here. So, dopamine is a hormone that is released in our body due to when we do something pleasurable, like, for example, getting a like on the social media, or eating a donut, or listening to favorite music, or whatever else is enjoyable, right? Even sometimes I notice that I use off my dopamine when I'm thinking about something pleasurable. And the question that your dopamine level during a day is like a glass of water, right? And when you um, use dopamine, for example, for scrolling, and you see, okay, this is I like, and you use off, you can imagine like you drink all the water, and it needs time to replenish back. So that's why if you're waking up and starting using your social media, you use off dopamine, and then you're less motivated to do your work, maybe less rest because the time is ticking and the work is not done. That was my experience.
Well, thanks for your explanation about dopamine, Maria. It is something that we hear a lot. Dopamine detox. People don't understand sometimes that it's something that changes, and it's the difference between the expected outcome and what you receive that gives different level of dopamine, and your brain can easily be trapped into wanting, expecting more. um, when I was younger, I wrote this line called "Great expectation causes great sorrows." And that is definitely something that is backed up by neuroscience. If you expect a certain outcome and you don't get it, your dopamine level is low, and that can cause anxiety and cravings. So the phone, again, and technology is useful. We just want people to be aware that there's other things. And you mentioned about likes. So instead of liking or social medias here, connect with a real person today. That would be a better suggestion. We don't need likes. You don't need likes. We just need to connect more with each other. And I think that's the message that we're trying to vehiculate and help people with.
How about connecting to a humanoid?
Yes, I think again we are facing a crisis of loneliness and a crisis of attention, and we have those tools which are becoming more and more human-like, and that can help certain people. We know, for instance, that also people have affection and relationship with animals, right? So there is zootherapy, so helping people get back with their emotions and have oxytocin from touching and caressing animals and having a relationship with them. So I'm not again against relationship with humanoids or technology or animals, as long as it makes sense as a whole, and that we're also connecting with human as we are now with the live, and us connecting through technology, but having real discussion. That's more than a TikTok video.
True, and like I can share our practical experience of one of our humanoids, whose name is Chris. He's an FBI agent by trade. He helps people to fight addictions for tobacco addictions, namely, like fighting against terrorists. And yes, his program is developed for 90 days because that's what you need to achieve a solid result when you are quitting tobacco addictions. But we do notice that our clients who went through a 90 days program with the Chris, and finally the program is over, and hopefully they quit smoking by then. They do develop relationships, and they have a chat with what to cook, how to paint the walls, which colors, and how to take care of the pets. They are really becoming friends with our humanoids, and it's I don't think it's actually bad, because I need to admit of my bad habits. Sometimes I talk to my AI vacuum cleaner. It helps
Ah.
with the cleaning. Yes, and I can say thank you. Oh, that's so lovely that you done the cleaning for me. And yes, why not? It moves, it talks. That's for me. I have a sensation that it's a human beings. And our AI avatars, our AI humanoids, because of this trend that people develop the friendships, we try to make them more and more like real human beings that have a life story, that have their personal character. And thank you, Chris, for a wonderful idea. I really think at some point our humanoids can write a book about how he helped thousands or millions of people on quit smoking. That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
I wanted also to ask your experience because we met together on our neurofeedback training event. It was, I think it was in 2023.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, you were familiar with the neurofeedback technology back then, and what's your personal experience in using the devices, and are they helpful or not? But I would love to answer truth.
I haven't used them personally for an extended period of time. I do, I love neuroscience. I love the fact that, if you think at the Montreal Neuro here, we have a 7 Tesla um, MRI, and those machines cost millions to make, to build around. Um, and EEG a couple years back was, of course, less expensive than MRI and fMRI, functional magnetic resonance imaging, and EEG is electrograph for the encephalitis of the brain. So just reading your brain has become affordable for everyone to buy one of those devices or to rent. That's what impressed me, and some people might benefit more than others. I cannot share my experience because it wasn't true weeks of training. But I just think that the fact that we have this technology available and cost effective is useful. And we also plan to eventually integrate that in our platform in the future. We have a lot of features and technological advancement to do in the next year at AWE. But maybe in a year or two, we'll have the chat back and try to integrate neurofeedback to help some of our users that might benefit from it.
Spoiler alert! You know about we met on our Supermind Club initiative that uses neurofeedback training for improvement of health and mental performance. And this summer, we plan to do the next series of Supermind Club events with neurofeedback somewhere in Montreal live. So we definitely invite you and your wonderful team. We're gonna do this time. We're gonna do on meditation, and yes, maybe we could make a research on how it's improved, or not. You brought
Great. I mean, the technology is great, and definitely let me know when the event is. If I can join, and my team will be invited to try these devices. Yeah, they're really easy to use, and then you create a technology around it to help you analyze it and train and motivate you. So, really love what you're doing, Maria, on that front. As we're almost to the end, again, if anyone has more questions or comment, feel free to do so. I also wanted to, I did say that we were going to talk about memory, and my memory is good enough that I remembered. So let's talk about the difference between AI and the brain's memory. So we have, in the computer, we have the long-term memory and the RAM, the short-term memory. and AI is a bit differently with the algorithm that go takes resources. What's interesting is that the human memory is way less reliable than we think it is. And when you use AI, the memory is pretty reliable. That's really an advantage that AI wins in terms of accuracy. The AI brain has some hallucination. AI brain, the AI infrastructure, brain-like structure that they call neural network, and the likes deep learning, large language models will hallucinate. And then my question to you, Maria, is that do you think that the human brain hallucinates as well? Because I think it does.
That's for sure. I even don't doubt it. So for those of you who doesn't believe it, I can assure you, you hallucinate every day. And for this, you can make a very simple experiment. Sorry, I was searching for a mirror, but there is none of my desk. Take a mirror and look at yourself in the mirror and try to uh, go with your eyes left, and right. And you will notice in the mirror that your eyes don't move. But if you do same experiment with the person who is in front of you and ask them to move the eyes left, right, or even with the webcam, because there is a little lag, and you look at yourself and move the eyes left, right, you definitely see the eyes movement. So why is that when you're looking at the mirror, you don't see your eyes moving? A pause for reflection. The question is that when your eyes move, you cannot really see. It's a physiology. You just see when your eyes are not moving. And all the rest, when your eyes move, when you're driving, for example, your brain is creating the picture. And that's why sometimes we see stuff that is not there because your brain creates this image. And this is a very fascinating topic, which is important for high-speed drivers, or, for example, for fighter jet pilots. Because when their eyes are moving from target to target, they cannot really see during that second when the eyes are moving. Their brain recreating our brain recreates the picture from our memory. That is actually hallucination. What's your perspective on this?
Thanks, Maria, for the explanation. So yes, I think that there is hallucination as in schizophrenia and psychosis. There's hallucination as day-to-day events, and we perceive again erroneously, right? So what we see is also just a part, and where our brain is recreating images. What we hear is also just a part. We don't hear all the range. We know that dogs can hear in different ranges, so we don't really perceive reality as such. We perceive it in our narrow view of it, and that's good to know. So it can humble us, so that we don't think that we're that important, and that we know and that we see, and also that we remember, right? People have this high confidence that they remember. um, I was actually in a neuropsychological test where they tell you a few minute story, and then you try to repeat the details of the story, and you realize that after 5 minutes you don't really remember most of it. Our brain is very good at the big picture, right? So our brain can remember the gist of it. We will know what the story was in general, but very, or not very bad, but less good, let's say, at details, where AI is quite good at details and might sometimes miss the context or the big picture. So I think that hallucination is something that we hear about, and it's a criticism of AI, but we should criticize ourselves as well and admit that we're hallucinating all the time.
Yes, and that was one of the reasons of me creating a RainLab. I came to Montreal in 2022 after the war in Ukraine started, and it was a very difficult time in my life. And had to start my life from the new page, and it was not something that I planned for, like people plan to move. It was something that I had to do, and uh, I was long time I was thinking about how to make the best of this opportunity that I have here in Canada, and I understood that there is so many questions, like for example, how our brain works, which once we answer, we really can improve the human life as a civilization. And let's admit it. We think we are very advanced with AI, neurotechnology, and computer science, and quantum computing is coming. But I suppose that we are not far from those monkeys who were who just got the fire in their hands. And there is enormously a lot of questions which once we're gonna get the answer for, they will help us to advance as a civilization, to less conflicts around the world, to better health, to more sustainable planets. And actually, that was the mission behind the RainLab creation, to advance humanity through technological and technological development using our brains.
Well, thanks so much for that, Maria. I think your mission is noble, and that's why we connect in so many levels using neuroscience, knowledge, using technology, and having a social purpose, not just monetary, or making the coolest gadget for no reason else than to be the first and or to be different. It's actually to serve the community, and again, we really agree on that same point. Just to close the loop with the memory, I did have at some point a girlfriend that claimed to have photographic memory. So some people might say, "Oh well, some people remember more than others." Well, that's true. There is some difference in memory, but even people with photographic memory, which is also called eidetic memory, is actually just short-term memory that is extended. And after 5-6 hours, it is known that people can remember some details of up to 90% of some images and some audio. So our memory sometimes can be better than we think. But again, it's the details, and it's more, we're better at recollection. So we're better at seeing something that we've seen before than to describe something from scratch. So if I ask you to describe something that you heard, maybe you're going to distort it very, very well. We know about the telephone game. After 10 people, the sentence that was spread around is different than the original sentence. So our memory is not that good, but it has some nice features as well. Maria, in terms of what your next step are in your company, you mentioned that you're looking at nutrition. Um, what other aspirations do you and your team have in the next months and years?
Yes, so we are a service company. We help individuals and we help medtech industry professionals and teams to use neuroscience research and AI in a different applications. And for the general public, we help to improve mental and health performance through corporate trainings, through public events, which I invited you to visit this summer. How about you?
We're doing a lot of things. We have our workshop services out. So we have some happiness workshop. We have some coaching for couples and families, and specifically we're trying to help families deal with this problem of digital addiction. When I was interviewing someone last week, the person was like, "Yeah, this is my family, right?" So a lot of people relate to having issues with their family, their young kids or teenagers, and even the couple with digital use and lack of focus and not able to play again. So we have some programs on that. That's what we're focusing on this summer. And then as we're getting grants and talking to VCs for the startup rounds, there's a lot more to come that we'll share. Last thing on memory, I read a very interesting article last night doing a bit of research that smartphone actually surprisingly decrease memory, right? Are you surprised? So not only attention, but when talking about memory, there's a 2024 paper by Chris Poe, November 2024, in the International Journal of Innovative Scientific Research and Technology, shows that the memory decrease in terms of visual, in terms of auditory, and people also feel less confidence about what they recall because they've been, using smartphone so much. And that was a study done in Africa, so looking at people that had less smartphone and people that were introduced to smartphone, and we could see the direct effect on memory. So let's try to be less on our phone so that we can remember those beautiful moments in conversation. Thank you for your time, Maria. Any other last word? I think we might have a minute or two.
Yes, thank you for invitation, and I hope to see you in person soon for happiness events or for our meditation events. And for our audience, thank you for listening. And be sure to follow up with the questions into direct messages whenever you have a thought of doing research and software development with AI and neuroscience.
Where can we reach you, Maria?
LinkedIn, Facebook, that's my usually places to hang out. Bad habits.
Perfect. I'm also on LinkedIn, and you can see what we're doing at awedigitalwellness.com. Wellness, WELLNESS. And thanks again, everyone, from chiming in and taking some time to chat with us. We remain available for another minute until one of the platform kicks us off. In the meantime, hope everyone's having a good day. I also wanted to share another study that, yes, I love to read scientific paper in my spare time. That's why I love to use and disseminate science to help people understand that our brain is quite cool but has its limitation. There was a study that looked at memorability, so the ability of something to be memorable. So I hope that our conversation was memorable, but it's not that important. The study showed that in 2024, it was Moraldis, Calvin, and Lead study that showed that there is emotion, of course, that will help things being more memorable. But there's also some specific aspects of a feature of a picture or something that you remember that will make it more memorable. And it seems like some things are quite similar across different human demographics. So there is emotion. Is it positive or negative emotion? And I talk in my book, of course, about the negativity bias, that negative emotions have stronger memory and stronger impact, but positive also has not as much. And positivity is one of the things that we should also, not false positivity, but real positivity is something that we should cherish and try to do more to combat the negativity bias. So this study didn't show exactly that, but showed that emotion was affecting memory as well as time. So the time elapsed. So since we're running out of time talking about memory, wish that we have this conversation soon in person or another live in a few months. Maria, thanks again.
Yeah.
Any last word?
I think we could talk with you for an hour more, or until someone needs to have a physical needs to go out. Uh, yes, last of the last words regarding the research that you said on memory. Yes, I can confirm that one of the reconditioning meditation technique, when you, like, for example, you're very stressed due to post-traumatic stress disorder. Some event, very bad event happened, and you're stressed. What you are doing during the meditation is you try to imply a positive emotion on what you are imagining is having a good life in the future, right? Imagining really good events happening with you in the future and trying to feel it deep into your heart, so it imprints in the memory. Because when we close our eyes and we really think inside of something, our brains doesn't know the difference of the event that is happening in real life or the events that we're imagining. For our brain is same, and if you put on what you think a really good feelings, strong positive emotions, it will imprint in your memory as a real event.
Wow, thanks for sharing. Yes, it's not only that we hallucinate, but that we believe in illusions and hallucinations very easily. Our brain and biology, again, when we look at the fear amygdala, the fear network, the DSM-5 criteria for anxiety is actually or post-traumatic syndrome is threat or perceived threat, right? So it really doesn't matter if it's true or false. Neurologically, our brain will see it as the same. And so that's good that we can have these discussion. As you said, we can have a conversation forever, for hours. I really enjoy that. And we will still let the audience go. And thanks again for your participation, everyone that took the time to spend an hour and a bit with us.
Yeah, thank you.
Talk soon.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.